Welcome back. This is Chris, and today we are going to do wonton soup, the basic wonton soup, which is the original comfort food, just like chicken noodle soup, except this is wonton soup. So we're going to start off with about 3 quarts of broth, and what I like to use is Better Than Bouillon. What I like about Better Than Bouillon is it has no MSG in it, and mostly natural ingredients. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in enough bouillon to make it half strength. So I don't want this to be super salty. So if it says 1 teaspoon for 1 cup, you're going to put 1 teaspoon for 2 cups. And I think probably 1 more of these tablespoon-sized helpings in there. So we'll just set that aside. What I'm going to add to the broth is dried mushrooms. And these, you can get these in the Asian markets. You can also get them in most local grocery stores, but they're a lot cheaper if you get them from the Asian markets. You can also order them online. And you often have a choice between sliced mushrooms and whole mushrooms. I would recommend that you use sliced mushrooms. They cost the same by weight. So you're going to get someone to do the cutting for you here, the slicing. If you have whole mushrooms, what you'll need to do is you'll need to put them in, wait about 10 minutes, take them out, and then slice them up and put them back in. But if you get them pre-sliced, you're going to be good to go, and they'll actually reconstitute much faster, probably twice as fast. So like 5 minutes, these will be ready. The question is often asked, can I use fresh mushrooms? The answer is yes, you certainly can, but they won't have the same texture and they won't have the same flavor as the dried mushrooms. And these are called shiitake or black mushrooms, and they're pretty tasty. So while that's reconstituting, let's move to the filling for our wontons. And we're going to be using ground pork for our filling. You can use ground beef, you can use ground chicken, turkey, lamb, and if you're vegetarian, what I would do is I would crumble up some tofu. So the filling that we're going to use is the pork today, and we're going to add to it some fresh garlic. We'll just smash that garlic and give that a slice. So the other flavor that we'll be using here is ginger. And normally I would use fresh ginger. I'd slice a piece off and I would smash it just like this. But today I don't have fresh ginger. What I have is some very good high quality ground ginger. So the recipe is going to call for a certain amount of ginger, or fresh ginger. If you use the dried ginger, it's much more concentrated, so you're going to use about 1/3 as much of the dry ginger. And what we'll do is we're going to just fold this right in. So this is going to be a very, very simple flavoring. We're not going to add anything else. Sometimes folks will ask, well, can we put in other flavorings? The answer is certainly you can. One favorite is to add a little bit of soy sauce, but we're not going to do that this time. We're going to let the flavor of the broth, of the bouillon, add the salt that we want. Bouillon is salty, so you don't need to add a lot more salt here. And we want the flavor of the pork and the chicken, the pork and the spices to come through. So that's well mixed. So let's push that aside and let's talk about the wrappers. So wonton wrappers are basically just pasta. And you can buy wonton wrappers at the store, and they'll be all sliced into squares for you. Or you can buy egg roll wrappers and cut them into quarters. What I have found is that if you buy the egg roll wrappers and take the 3 seconds that it takes to cut it into quarters, you get about a third more wrappers. Apparently they charge you extra to cut them up. So these you get right in the grocery section, in the refrigerated grocery section. And what we'll do, we'll just take our knife here and cut them in half and in half again. And there's our wonton wrappers. So often the trickiest thing when doing this is just making sure that they're well separated. So you want to make sure you do that, get them separated, because you do not want a double layer. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to show you 3 ways, and there are more than 3 ways, but I'm going to show you 3 ways to fold your wontons. You're going to need a little bit of water, and you're going to lay this down just like a baseball diamond, home plate, first, second, third, pitcher's mound. And you're going to take a teaspoon of the filling, put it right in the middle. You'll run the bases. The water is the glue. You'll take home plate, you'll bring it up to second base, making an isosceles triangle, and you'll just press that. And that is a wonton. That's like ready to eat. If we want to get a little fancier, what we can do, start off the same way. And by the way, you don't want to take more than a teaspoon, because the wrapper cooks in about a minute, minute and a half. And if you're filling, if it's too big, it's going to take too long to cook, and you're going to you'll overcook the pasta. So in order to cook the pork, no one wants undercooked pork. So keep it small so it cooks. So we started the same way, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this around my middle finger. I'm going to bring the other corner over, and I'm just going to squeeze just like that. And we'll have maybe a dinner napkin or the Pope's hat or something like that. I'll show you one more time. There we go. And you'll see I'm using a knife because I have more control over the amount that I would put in there relative to a spoon. Home plate up to second base, making an isosceles triangle. One corner, roll it. There's the other one. If you get confused, you can stop the video and you'll be able to see what it is I'm doing here. I'll do this one more time. Then I'm going to show you the advanced fold. So we'll paint the bases. Home plate up to second base. Roll it onto my middle finger and squeeze. And you can give that a nice hard squeeze so it doesn't come apart. So the advanced fold starts out the same way. It all starts the same way. Paint the bases. Home plate to second base. So what we'll do is I'm going to push the center here down a little bit, get my finger out, then I'm gonna come straight up. So it kind of looks like ears. And I'm gonna come straight up and cross the ears on the top. I'm not gonna go front to back. So it's kind of, looks a little bit like a little boat. We'll do that again. Get a little filling. Run the bases. Seal that up. Here we go. Push down. Come up. You got the bat's ears maybe. And then cross it on the top. If you go front to back, you'll end up with this. If you cross it up on the top, you'll end up with this one here. All right. And I'm going to show you one last time, and then we're going to cook because I'm getting hungry. So, okay. We're painting the bases. Home plate is going up to second base. We're sealing that. Make a little dent, get your finger out. Don't wrap it around your finger. Bring the ears straight up and give it a squeeze. There you have it. All right. So our broth has been bubbling away merrily. Our mushrooms, they're softened up, but they're still going to be nice and chewy, which is, if you use the fresh mushrooms, you won't get that chewy consistency. All right, so what we'll do is we want this to be boiling, and we want it to be a nice healthy boil, because as I put these in, it's going to cool this down. It's going to cool the broth down. So we can put these in as fast as we want, but we have to put them in one at a time, because if they're touching, when they go in, they will stick together. As long as they go in separately, they'll be fine. And they'll take about 2 minutes to cook. We'll give those a little stir. And you can kind of see the boiling has stopped, but that will build up again within the 2 minutes. So while we're waiting to do that, let's get some vegetables in there. So one vegetable that we're going to use is bok choy. And bok choy is a Chinese cabbage, and it's part of the mustard family. It actually grows really well in Maine. It has a blanched, very smooth stalk, and the leaves are very mild. They're kind of like Swiss chard. And what we'll do is we'll just slice these diagonally in about 1/2-inch slices, just like that. And when I get to the leaves, just so the leaves aren't super long, I'll kind of alternate my 45-degree angle here. All right. So it's been about a minute on the broth, and you can see. Let me just show you. You can tell when these are beginning to cook up, they turn the skin turns a little translucent, and they shrivel up around the filling. So these are almost ready. And what I'll do is I'm going to just sprinkle the bok choy right on top. And then I'll add some scallions. And I'll slice off this root so we can plant those. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have fresh scallions to use from those. And I'm going to cut these again in about a 1/2 inch diagonal pieces. And what I like to do is I'll take these scallions, and in order to distribute the flavor of the scallions throughout the soup, I'll squeeze them as I put them in. Just like that. And this is boiling again. So we'll give that a stir. All right. So the wontons are cooked. And my greens, I like to have them pretty crispy. So I'm not going to leave those in for very long, not more than a minute or so. And we are ready to taste this. So there's some wontons and some mushrooms, some bok choy, and the flavor of the ginger and the garlic will also, not only do they flavor the wontons, but they will flavor the soup as well. One thing I would add is that you should only cook as many wontons as you're going to eat, because they're no good left over. So what you can do with the wontons that you, if you make a whole package of them, you can put them on a tray and then put them in the freezer, let them freeze, then put them into a Ziploc bag, and then sometime when you want to have a quick meal, just boil up some broth and throw the wontons in. You probably want to cook them for maybe 5 minutes if they're frozen. So let's have a taste here. Wonton dumplings, fresh. Yum. So that's it for now. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next time.